Hello, everyone. My name's Tony,
And I'm Guy,
and we're here representing the Manly Way, and we're here to help you master.
the Manly Way.
Absolutely. So today we're actually taking some time. I want to take some time because Guy actually had a chance to interview me and get a little bit more on my background, and I think it's really important that I ask Guy a couple of questions because there's certain things I think that are very important with where we're at and what it's going to help, how we're going to help you through just our experiences and the knowledge that we have. And today I really want to focus on Guy because this man here, it's amazing what he's gone through and what his heart is to help people and to help them through some of the things that he's been able to overcome. And today, Guy, I really want to ask you, there's one of the things that's really jumped out to me is how you've been able to come back from such a severe illness as he's had a stroke, not only a stroke, but strokes. And his heart...
4 strokes.
4 strokes. I just can't imagine that. So what I want to do is I want to ask you, Guy, how did the strokes, where were you before the strokes, and how did that set up where you're at right now, and what are your way of thinking?
Well, the best way I can put it is that life before strokes was very type A personality.
Right.
I owned a construction company, restoration business. It did very well. Had a lot of employees. Had a business partner, and that did very well. And it was restoration is very fast paced, and so you're doing a lot of work. And we had
all hours of the day.
All
nights.
hours, yeah. You work sometimes 24 hours, and so you're working on that. You're doing that. You're working with we had upwards of 20 some employees.
Wow.
And trucks and vans and dump trucks and everything. And so we were always going, always fast, very high pressure, very high paced, and I enjoyed it. I mean, there were times when obviously anybody doesn't enjoy it, but I liked the fast pace. And so then I sold my business and I moved, and I was managing a large construction company, or as a manager in a large construction company, I should say, that was doing, again, multi-million dollars worth of work, and
a lot of stress there, right?
A lot of stress, a lot of go, and so that was kind of my world. And then it was the day before Thanksgiving that, boom, I had a stroke. Now we can go.
Nobody knows when it's going to happen, but who would ever think like just getting ready to celebrate this awesome holiday?
Yeah.
And boom.
Yeah. And my wife was asking me questions. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. What are you talking about?" And she's like, "I don't understand what you're talking." She couldn't understand me. I was slurring. She's like, "Oh, we got to get you to the hospital." So anyhow, that is another whole story on my stroke and how what happened there. But needless to say, I had a stroke, and it took me about a year to come back from that. So in that process, obviously I couldn't do what I was doing anymore.
Right.
And also I lost the cognitive ability, after I had my first major stroke, of multitasking.
Oh.
So some people get certain
That's
things.
hard because construction, when you're in, that's
Yeah.
major multitasking.
Memory and multitasking are
Wow.
2 huge things when you're running 20-some projects.
Yeah.
And I would sit down at my desk and it just didn't make sense to me anymore. Things wouldn't, I couldn't do the simplest things. And it was very frustrating, and some depression set in. I didn't know who I was anymore. What was I going to do? And and then the doctor said, "Listen, if you don't slow down and find something else to do, you're going to die."
Wow.
And I was like,
that's a wake-up call.
Yeah. So I'd only known one gear my whole life. I'd only known what to do. So it took me some time, and obviously it was tough. But I just kind of pushed through and tried to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? And now I'm a man of prayer, so I needed to pray about it and think about who am I really going to be without this career? And what I found out was it wasn't so much who I was, but whose I was.
Right.
And I found my strength in that I was still a child of God, and I was still who I am, and I was still a husband and a father, and I needed to really wrap my hands around that and say, okay, I find my value in that.
Yeah.
And it was, listen, this was not easy. It just
I
wasn't.
couldn't imagine it.
No.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even have my health at the time. I didn't have anything. So I just took one day at a time, one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time.
Yeah.
So I just took it one step at a time, one day at a time. Recovery was slow, but I made it. And what came out of that was I found this amazing life with my kids. My kids actually came to me at different times throughout their recovery, and they said, we're not glad that you had a stroke, but we love to have you around.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, we didn't really realize how much we missed you until we had you.
Right.
Because I used to have an office at the office and an office at home, and I would burn up a couple cell phones.
Right.
And I was always making deals, and sometimes birthdays or Christmas or holidays, I would be working because it's a restoration business. A disaster can happen anytime. And so I was trying to be a really attentive father and a good dad, but what they said at different times was, you're a good dad, but you just weren't around all the time. Mm-hmm. And it crushed me. Yeah. It really did. I didn't realize that in me trying to provide for them, I was ignoring them.
That is such a common thing with dudes. It's like we really think we're providing and helping sometimes, and we're caught up in that process.
They just wanted me.
They want you.
They just wanted me and then my time.
Right.
And so so all I had was time. So I started doing things that to the best of my ability. Mm-hmm. I started getting up and cooking them breakfast and being there for them when they got home and spending time with them and listening to them and I found out it was actually more satisfying than the work that I was doing.
Isn't that amazing?
It filled me up
Yeah.
more than anything that I had done in my business. And so I really, really, really fell in love with being a dad. And it took me a while. This didn't happen overnight. It took me a while, but after being in that situation, I realized this is really important. And then I had a hard time when I started getting better. I had a hard time figuring out what I was going to do for a living because I didn't want to leave my kids.
Right.
My wife was working at the time, and she was doing well. She was doing better, but we weren't making the kind of money. I mean, we weren't making the kind of money I was making before. I was doing well, and then all of a sudden, we just hit the brakes financially. So I needed to do something.
Right.
So I found that what I could do was just still be with the kids, and then I found, instead of running the construction company, I would just do some handyman stuff and do the things that I could do. I used to be a carpenter long time ago,
right,
but I just hadn't done it for years because I'd been running companies and doing stuff like that. So I kind of went back to my roots when I was younger and just started being kind of a handyman, not lifting too much because you can't do, when you're
there's certain limitations.
Yeah, limitations, physical limitations, as well as,
Right.
I mean, I just recovered from strokes. So but then in that, I found that I didn't want to take too much time. I didn't jump right in and say, oh, I'm going to do it, because I wanted to make sure that I was spending time with my kids.
Right.
And that has never left. And I won't ever, I have a great relationship with my kids right now.
Right.
And I don't want that to go away.
Right.
I have a 14-year-old daughter who wants to spend time with me.
Right.
Man, I love that.
Awesome.
Dude, I love that.
No,
I see how your daughters, Tony,
it's awesome.
They come up and they hug you and they want to be around you, and I want that so bad. And I have that.
Yep.
And I just went out to dinner the other day with my 20-year-old son, and he loves hanging out. We like hanging out and talking and get, and we're always calling each other. And I don't ever want to let that go. I don't ever want to let that go for work or anything else.
Exactly.
So I was kind of put in the position of being the home dad.
Right.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And there are times when, just like everybody, you kind of want to pull your hair out and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm good enough to do
Right.
this.
I know
But at the same time, I worked my way through it. And
Yeah.
the one thing I wish I would have had dude food,
Right.
because man, I was having such a hard time with some of the recipes. And I wish I would have had something like the Manly Way.
Yes.
Because I wanted to connect with other men.
Right.
And so this is why my heart is toward this.
Absolutely.
Is because I want guys to be able to master the Manly Way.
Yep.
I want them to be able to thrive in this and not struggle the way that Tony and I did. We want to help you, launch you further. Just like we wanted to launch our kids, we want to help you go further.
Absolutely.
Quicker and not have to struggle the way we did.
Right.
So, there's more to my story, but really that was the main reason. That was where it came from.
Well, that's what's interesting. I just wanted everyone to kind of grab
Yeah.
onto that idea that, or understanding that what you've gone through,
Yeah.
like this, like here he's disaster restoration stuff, and he had a disaster in his life, and sometimes all of you out there I know have situations where you're going, oh my goodness, why did this happen? Well, sometimes that's a setup so that you can redesign your life, and because maybe what's going on right now, there's something better for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't know, and it's just like you were saying, guys. We both would have loved to have just a place we could go to where just dudes can listen to dudes, send questions in, send little things that help each other out. That's our goal, is to help each other out and help you master the manly way.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at. And that's your testimony right there is great, because he had a wake up call.
Yeah, I did.
And it was a great thing.
It really so I had to be pulled out of my, I guess, my selfishness and some of my striving for more, and realize, my kids never really, when Christmas came around and we didn't have a lot for them, and I couldn't get them the new iPod or whatever it was at the time, and I really, really, really felt bad. They, what they said? We don't care. We really don't. We have you.
Right.
And I was like, I can't.
No.
That
That's
was
so
really
true.
interesting for me,
Yeah.
because I didn't realize how powerful it was just to be with your kids.
Right.
And so I encourage you guys that they want you.
Yes.
They, whoever's out, I know there are guys out there who are striving. I'd caution. Having money is not a bad thing, but balance. Now I'm working. I'm working again.
Right.
And Tony and I work together, but we balance. I balance my time, and Tony can attest to this.
Absolutely.
There are times when sometimes it's 3:30 in the afternoon, and I say, you know what, I gotta go take care of my daughter, and
I'm sitting there going, go.
Yeah.
That's great.
Because-
that's priority.
because yes, work is work, and sometimes we have to get there earlier to make up for things, but I want to make sure that my kids are the most important things, and that's where
Yep.
that's where it's at.
Yep. And I've learned, like you're saying, is that, and it's, we've heard this over and over and over, but it's so true, is that time goes by fast.
Oh my goodness!
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
it's a really interesting concept, because when our kids were little, I was like, oh my goodness, we're gonna have so much time with them, and then all of a sudden, my son's 20 and my daughter's 14, and I'm like, where did all this go?
I know.
My goodness!
Right.
Yeah.
And that, if anything today really is just I hope, I challenge everyone out there to just to sit back, find a place where you can just find a quiet place or whatever, and just look at your life right now and see, how does it structure around your family, your kids, just so that you have an opportunity. Because sometimes really things get so busy, and we prioritize things. We put a higher level on that than we do our kids and our
Yeah.
family sometimes. And it's just, there's a balance there. Sometimes it doesn't feel good, and it kind of hurts a little bit when you adjust
Yes.
and transform into something that's better. But you will, guaranteed that you're going to be so much happier and content with what you're doing if you bring it around to where you're with your family and your role in their lives with your kids. So, anyways, and you were able to do it.
Yeah, and so one of the last things I want to say, now this is a call out, and I'm already doing it. This is a call out to anybody who's listening. Tony and I are technically challenged. We
are.
We're not, and we've been asked by several people, can you turn landscape while you're, so that we're doing these Facebook Lives landscape. But we can't figure out how to do it without it always staying sideways, even when it's on a computer.
Right.
So if any of you tech masters out there can give us a little help, give us a little hint, and show us how to do it, we'd sure be appreciative. Because just because we know some things doesn't mean we know other things.
And you know what? Honestly, I really don't want to know that. I mean, that's why we're so thankful for you brilliant men out there that know this, that can just...
Well, yeah.
Right?
I just want to know enough to turn it.
Just turn. And this is kind of nice. I mean, I can duck out here a little bit if I really...
seriously, I mean, I like Tony, but sometimes we're just a little...
We're a little too close.
Yeah. He's in my personal space.
Yeah.
But we haven't figured out how to change it yet.
We're working on that, but, you know.
And I know it's probably really simple and you guys are laughing at us. So, laugh away.
Laugh away.
Yeah, that's fine. So, anyhow, I think that's the day.
I think that's the day, and we're just thankful for you guys tuning in. And again, we want to help you master the manly way.
Yes, I agree. Who is that?